What's up, YouTube and DTubers? DTube is another video platform. If you've never been on it, check it out. Very similar to YouTube, just a little more incentive for video creators and even those who partake in leaving comments and liking and rating videos. A little more, like I said, a little more incentive to the community there. So if you've never checked it out, check it out. It's got some glitches, got some work ahead of it to basically put it on a level that it can compete with YouTube and any other social media platforms. But again, it's really, really cool. And if you watch a lot of videos, you know, you might as well, maybe get some sort of compensation for your time. So other than that, minus the ramble, it's been a while since I've done a fish room video. Might as well start with the 55-gallon. And as all of you know, I keep a lot of growed aquariums. I raise some fish, and they basically take up most of the real estate, you know, here at my home. So other than that, this is the 55-gallon. You can see it's filled with different African cichlids in it. Obviously cichlids that I'm raising and growing up. And it also sometimes becomes home to problematic fish, like this Nairii that you see right in front of you. He was in my main display aquarium, but was not getting along with the other male. So you know what? I figured to basically remove him out of the main display and throw him into this growed aquarium. But again, it's a great tank for fish that need a bit of a timeout. You can see this blue dragon blood type of hybrid here at the top too. Very beautiful fish, but again, a bit of an attitude problem. So the thing is, when you throw them into a tank like this that has so many fish to basically chase around, it disperses the aggression, and it actually seems to mellow them out a little bit. So there's a lot going on in this aquarium, and that is always a little bit better. You know, that's basically, how can I say, it's one of those points that you know, most cichlid keepers like to make on reducing aggression. It's one of the best factors is to overpopulate the aquarium. So that said, that's the 55. We also have another 55 below. This is my tiger tank, or my tiger wolf tank. He's not coming out to display. Actually, I'll see if I can get him. He is extremely, extremely aggressive. I can be like a mile away from the tank and he tries to attack me. But again, you know, there's some juvenile fish that are still in the aquarium. They'll be coming out real soon. I'll see if I can, yeah, you can see what I mean. It doesn't take much to get him wound up. That's obviously the Parachromis in him. Probably more of the Dovi in him than any of the rest. The female is really, really beautiful, but she doesn't really come out. He's probably in and around the 9-inch mark. Pretty interactive, but again, very, very aggressive. I'd like to grow him out to his full potential at some point down the road, so I will be upgrading the aquarium that he's in. That said, let's go backwards. This is another 20-gallon aquarium. There's some inkfin calvus in this tank. There is a Gold Harbor Monkey Bay Hap. It's got a few names. Really, really cool. They've kind of come onto the scene as of lately, especially here in Ontario. There's also a Firecrest male sitting out in front of us. I didn't have very good luck with the other Firecrest. They're just a very, very sensitive fish, I found. The first one that I lost was was due to bloat, and that can happen. You know, bloat's very, very common with cichlids. But the other ones I lost were just through doing a water change on the tank. So note to self for the next time, if you're keeping Firecrest, or if I decide to get a few more, I'll make sure I do water changes on the tank, but maybe, you know, very, very small water changes at a time. This fish might be very, very easily worked up, and you know, not necessarily the water change probably killed them. It was probably their anxiety and stress when you put the the gravel vac into the aquarium, and like I said, they just didn't recover from that. So it's really unfortunate, because I had a nice big male, probably double the size of this guy, and he was really starting to come into his coloration. So I'll definitely get some more down the road, but I'm going to wait until I have the tank space available to do it right. Other than that, just a 20-gallon grow out underneath, really dark. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. And then we have the Tiger tank. The Tiger tank is a favorite to many of the YouTube subscribers. There's a lot going on in this aquarium. It's home to a pair of large Salvini cichlids, possibly a pair of Oscars. You know, there was a third Oscar in here, but he basically croaked as of recently. And I noticed with him, he developed the same breathing order his brother that basically died maybe 3-4 months ago had also. So needless to say, nothing else in the tank was harmed. Everybody else is very, very healthy. Whatever that other Oscar I had developed seemed to have been not necessarily genetic, but it could have been due to the conditions that it was raised in. So I know that they were imported in from Asia. And you know what? I know we do the best job that we can raising our fish. And again, we don't sell them, on a commercial level, but someone who's in the business of making money from it, there might be more incentive to use hormones, or I'm thinking maybe there was a growth hormone used on the Oscars, because like I said, the one that passed away about 3 months ago developed this odd breathing disorder, and then to follow, his brother did a few months later. So I'm really thinking, again, because nothing of it was contagious to anybody else, the Oscars and everybody else are doing very well. It was basically 2 isolated incidents, same thing, 2 related fish from the same location, or the same, probably the same farm. And I have to think it's probably the conditions that they came in from. So sometimes, depending on how you raise the fish, they might not show symptoms or issues until later on. Those symptoms could arise later. And that's something that you could see in the marine hobby. Any of the fish that were used, when collecting with cyanide, you can bring a fish in, he might look healthy for a month, and then all of a sudden develop some sort of breathing disorder from the poisoning, but it took its time before it took its toll on the victim. And I'm really thinking that's what happened with the 2 gold Oscars I had. I'm just thinking that, they probably were raised in some sort of conditions that were unnatural, and inevitably it led to their demise, because everything else is perfect. So that said, just scrolling on a couple of these guys. Red Tiger's looking great. Salvini's looking great. Like I said, everybody else is good. Let's go to my 35-gallon. This is also a grow to aquarium, but I'm going to spend a couple minutes on it. I wanted to point out that I have a beautiful firefish in the corner here. Very, very nice quality male. And I want to breed him. He's got his own female in here. I think she's holding, but she might be only holding a few eggs. So nothing much. I would love to get a larger batch out of them down the road. That pink stuff on the glass is a calcareous algae, so you basically got to take that off by either scraping it very hard or with a razor blade. But sometimes I found that, if I'm doing constant regular water changes on some of my aquariums, I think, again, the water quality is very, very optimal for, the calcareous algae to grow. A lot of times that's not going to grow in a tank that's got a high organic level. So other than that, you can see the firefish is just beautiful, wonderful coloration, wonderful pattern. And you say, oh, well, what's the difference between that and a dragon blood? Well, you know what? It's basically a trade name. From my understanding, after looking at tons and tons of different specimens, I believe a lot of times the specimens that have more solid coloration throughout the body are considered the firefish. Dragon bloods, a lot of times I thought that was maybe associated to the coloration on each individual scale. And I imagine if this guy breeds, if his young come out not up to his quality, they would probably be considered lesser or lower quality dragon bloods. Like I said, just a trade name, but that's from my understanding the difference between the two. Other than that, home to a lot of OBs, some OB dragon bloods. I always like them. You can see with this one carefully, you can see the individual scaling on him, and that's what I'm talking about, the difference kind of what you see in a dragon blood compared to a firefish. Other than that, we come down below. No light on the aquarium, so bear with me. Home to a bunch of other grow outs. I have one of my Salvini females. I moved her into this aquarium. You can see she's got a couple bumps on her head. She was in a spat, but she should be just fine. She's eating very well now. And I wanted to focus in on a couple of these OBs. You'll notice, again, sorry, there's no light on the aquarium, but you can see that these are very high quality individuals. When I purchased them, they were quite small and pretty full colored up, so I assumed that, you know, there was a chance that they were hormoned. But again, they were only like $5, so I said, you know what, I don't care. If I'm gonna take a chance on them and they turn out, that's great. If not, I'm not out a big investment. But needless to say, they maintained their coloration. So I, you know, because they maintained it and showed, you know, like I said, such coloration at a small size, that would indicate that they're a very, very good quality fish. So in the end, you know, I'll probably use this male or something to breed with some of my other females down the road and keep the genetics and the lineage of some of my better fish alive. So other than that, those are the other tanks. We can move over here. 20 gallon, again, grow out. No specific theme. I got a very temperamental red Severum in the aquarium. It's got a beautiful pattern, but he's very, very temperamental. He's not picked on, he's not harassed, even if this tank. And last but not least, just again another 15 gallon grow out aquarium. They make their way from the 5 gallons over there to the 15, up to the 20, and then into the 35. Eventually then to the 55, and then I have another 75 gallon downstairs that I use for basically the end process. So, you know, they have a little bit of a journey, but anytime they get big enough and, how can I say, bored enough with their surroundings, you know, I switch them up and I upgrade them. So that's that. That's the fish room. Let's go take a look at everything else. So here is my main cichlid display tank. It's 120 gallon. Sorry for the glare. I get a lot of sunlight in this room. But needless to say, what I'll do is I'll scroll in on a few of the species that I keep in this tank. Some of the recent additions are the living stone eye haps. There's 3 of them in the aquarium. There's 1 male, 2 females. One of these sulfur head hybrids that I actually bred myself. Some of the little individuals that I grow out, if I can't sell them, I'll throw them into the aquarium. My OB peacock, he is one of the dominant fish species in the aquarium. He's a pretty good tank boss, I have to say. A female red tiger motaguens, she's very little. She's no problem. Again, here is probably the male to that juvenile sulfur head hybrid. Sulfur head, sulfur crest, Mara rock, Zimbabwe rock hybrid. I don't know. These guys are pretty popular, but I have about 20 again trade names. That said, I like fish that are pretty no matter what they are, and I am a fan of hybrids. Obviously, I keep a number of them. I don't go out of my way with breeding some of them. You know, like I said, I have some OBs already at home with some dragon bloods. But I don't have any, I would say, other projects in the mix. Again, my tiger wolves are a hybrid, but that was an accidental cross. And either way, they turned out beautiful anyway, so I don't have any issue with that. Hybrid fish have contributed, basically have contributed huge to, basically the cichlid hobby. And some of the nicest looking cichlids are hybrids. I'm sorry to say that, but before the OBs and dragon bloods came on board, what other fish or other cichlids did you have duplicate that type of coloration and pattern? Not very many. So either way, I find every fish has its place in the hobby, and I like them all. That said, some of the newer individuals introduced are this little group of hap living stone eye. The male is very nice. The females are doing very well. I have this group of marble convicts. I call them red marbles just because the females have so much red in the body. I probably have 5 or 6 females in this aquarium. They all interact with each other and hang out in a group. Again, they do a lot of mock breeding, but again, can't breed because there's no male in the tank. And that said, you know, I wouldn't put a male into the aquarium. Once you get a pair of these guys, you know, together, that would actually raise some fry in the aquarium, you know, they'll be relentless on harassing everybody in the aquarium. So the females, they do their thing. They hang out together. They get a little ornery, but overall very well behaved. Beautiful Salvini cichlid. This is a variant of Rio Chocomax. This female is doing very, very nicely. It's funny, I find this variant actually to be not very aggressive by Salvini cichlid standards. Anybody who's kept Salvinis knows that they can be very, very, very nasty. But this variant, even that large male I have in my tiger tank, you know, he'll hold his own, but he doesn't go out of his way to torment anybody. And I have to say, I really, really like this variant. Obviously, it's very colorful, but they've proven to be pretty well behaved, again, by Salvini standards. So, that said, I have a Luino Reef Zebra. He is second in line in this aquarium. Overall, not too badly behaved. He can get a little crazy at times. That said, you know, I do have a few other Mbunas in the aquarium. Here is also Lamprologus Tredacephalus. However you say that, I've been saying it like that for 20 years, so I'm not going to change that. It's a Frontosa lookalike. Also doesn't get very, very large, which makes them pretty ideal in a community tank, cichlid tanks, you know, setup. One of my Nairiis getting all fired up, bicolor 500. And the tank boss, too bad that she's black, you know, or I'd be able to basically scroll in on her. But she's a Paratilapia species from Madagascar. If any of you have seen the profile videos I've done, or the profile video I did of her in the past, you'll know that she's an extremely impressive fish, and she's gotten quite large. And she, you know, basically controls this aquarium the way she pleases, and overall, pretty well behaved. So, needless to say, if I have anything in this tank that is just a little too relentless, it will end, you know, it'll end its stay pretty quickly. Like I said, I have a number of other aquariums. I can remove anybody that's problematic, and that's why a lot of these fish get along. It's because anything that is an issue doesn't last too long in this tank, and that allows for all these fish to basically live in harmony the best that they can on, again, a cichlid standard level of harmony. So other than that, that's the main display tank. Let's check out the rest. So we are now downstairs in the laundry room. In the laundry room I have two 75-gallon tanks. Both are being used, or actually the one above, this one is being used for some breeding. Here's my breeder OB. Robbo's World's former OB. This guy is really, really nice, but man, I'm not really a breeder. You know, I like to take advantage of, you know, breeding something that I think is exceptional. I like to keep the lineage alive. That's more of what I'm into. Sometimes finding something that is very decent or very good quality can be difficult, and if you can't duplicate it or something happens to, say, your breeding male or your stock, it's always good to have, you know, secondaries, and that's what I do a lot of. You know, I'm never really too quick to sell anything. I like to see how things kind of grow out. Again, this is the 75. You can see there's a number of female OBs and dragon bloods in it. Some young juvenile OBs also. And again, this tank is, again, just used for the purpose of some breeding and some growing out. My largest red terror fry, he's probably, I think it's a male, I think he's probably about 2 3/4 inches. So he's a good size. He looks good. I imagine that he's going to turn out very, very nicely. It's just, it's pretty difficult. He likes to keep his black coloration during this stage, but I imagine that once he's mature and large enough, he'll start to develop into his own. But other than that, that's the 75-gallon. Of all the comments I get, I never get people asking me about the tanks in the laundry room. So other than that, this is my other grow out. You can see there's a lot of juvenile OBs and blue Dragon Bloods and everything else. This is my best grow out right here. I'll come in a little closer. But this little male right now, and he's not that big. He's probably under 3 inches. But showcasing just excellent coloration. And again, he's very aggressive. He's interacting and trying to breed with the little juvenile females in the aquarium. But again, you know, this is probably the final stage as to where they'll end up before they basically make their way into my main aquarium or I sell them off. But that said, you know, like I said, there's the 275s, but I probably will be adding one more tank to the laundry room, and it'll go over here. You can see there's just a ton of storage, a lot of extra space, and I'm thinking I'm going to be getting another 120 gallon. And again, it's for you know, grow out purposes. I like to kind of hoard my fish. Again, I don't just give them up for nothing. I like to know where they go, who's buying them. I like reputable fish keepers. There's a lot of unreputable people that just don't care. They'll just see that it's a nice fish. You know, probably their tank conditions are deplorable, whatever it is. But either way, I'm pretty fussy on who I deal with and who I want to sell my fish to. So you know what? If I can't sell them, I'm going to need another tank to store them. So I think if I go with another 120, I won't run into any more space issues for now. You know, we all know that we max out our aquariums very, very easily. And if I got like 200 red terror fry that are, you know, close to selling size, you know, say around 1.5 inches in another month or two, they're going to start taking up a lot of real estate. So basically I need another aquarium to accommodate all the growth. And like I said, at the end of the day, that's not a bad problem to have. So let's go take a look at the red terrors. So the last stop on the tour is the red terrors aquarium. I just did an update of the pair this week, so if you missed that video, go watch it. I don't need to get into, you know, huge amount of details, but I'll just give you guys a refresher. The pair is doing very, very well. As you can see, there is a ton of fry in the aquarium. They've grown a lot. They are at the size that I'm going to be taking them out of the aquarium. I've noticed that the parents, especially the female, has gotten pretty ornery. As you can see, she'll attempt chasing them. This milk crate works as a charm. The juveniles will hide out in that, making them impossible to chase. But I think this female and the male are ready for another batch of babies. So, like I said, you know, anytime a cichlid gets into breeding mode, they get overly protective and aggressive. And I have to say that they're giving me all the signs and indications that, you know, that time has arrived again. And overall, they're doing very nicely. As you can see, the female, she's probably over 10 inches now. Male is over 12. Instead of length, though, he's gotten very, very thick. His head is just massive. But overall, I couldn't ask for a better pair. And again, ultimately, that was the whole intent, was to grow them out together, let them enjoy each other's company in the former Dovi's aquarium, and as a byproduct, get all these beautiful fry from it. So, other than that, that's the tour. Again, thanks for watching.